and welcome back to the channel. I am actually a little bit outside today, a little bit chilly, got my beanie, but my name is Derek and I am a Norse Pagan. Took that off of a fellow Norse Pagan who also does videos, but kind of wanted to do a little bit of a video today. It wasn't planned. This is actually something that came up today, and I just wanted to go ahead and come outside, see what the outside has to offer today. Even though it's cold, it's real pretty, the sun's out. Well, not so much anymore, it's kind of late in the day, but kind of a little bit of background story for me. As again, my name's Derek. I am Norse Pagan, but it didn't start that way. Originally, I was raised in a fundamentalist Christian doomsday cult. That will go unnamed. If you know, you know. But because of that, I have a unique perspective on a few different things. And one of those things is cultism, which actually kind of segues into what I wanted to talk about today. And within the Norse Pagan community, something that has been prevalent and something that has been, at least through the last half of the 20th century and up until now, that has been a problem is cultism, bigotry, and hatred within the Norse Pagan path. And that's across the board, and it affects other pagan paths as well. So this is something that I hold close to my heart. I am a Tears blood, follower of Tears, so something that's real close to my heart is honor, justice, and doing the right thing, and treating people with respect and dignity and honor. So kind of a couple of the topics that I wanted to touch on today. First off is cults. What are they? Having been raised in a cult, I have kind of a perspective on the behaviors to look for. Typically, you're going to look at leaders who make decisions that are not to be questioned. You're going to find a mentality that if you do question, you are excluded. You're also going to find a mentality that all others are wrong, that no other path is right, that one path is right, and that's the only way to do things. You'll also find within cults very heavy cognitive dissonance and brainwashing and mind control through a myriad of different methods, whether those methods be through emotional blackmail. For instance, something common within Christian cults is the if you do bad, you're going to go to hell and you're going to be punished, so you have to do good. Or I'm not saying all Christians are cults, that's not it. Or if you do sin, if it's serious enough, then the entire organization, including your family and friends, will shun you and act like you don't exist anymore. So just different ways of emotionally blackmailing you to keep you in. Typically, you have charismatic leaders who, regardless of their qualifications or regardless of their personal experiences, are held above high and on a pedestal. There are no equals. There is just basically the clergy class or the religious leaders, and then those who follow them. And you are not to question the ones that are at the top. Well, that being said, heathenry, paganism, Norse paganism, whatever it is, it really has no place for cultism at all. And anyone that tries to push that in there is typically going to be caught fairly quickly, and it's going to be handled. Paganism is individual paths. We have communities where we gather together as folk. We gather together as fellows in our paths, but we all have different practices. We all have different experiences and different ways of going about this path. For instance, the way that I practice may not be the way another person practices, but no one is in any kind of a position to be able to say, oh, you're wrong, and I'm right, or I'm wrong and you're right. Because with paganism, historically, Norse paganism, everyone was allowed to practice as they wished. There was no dogma. Basically, if you showed up to their gathering every 9 years, they didn't even care if you worshipped the old gods. You could worship the Christian God, you could worship Hindu and Buddhist gods. It doesn't matter. They were very inclusive, and they understood the individuality and the autonomy that comes with a path such as following the old gods. Granted, at that time, they were just the gods. To us now, they're the old gods. But there's really no place inside heathenry for cult mentalities. And there are individuals within the community that are charismatic. They do draw people to them, and they try to build a community. And anytime you try to build a community and there are lots of people involved, and you have a charismatic individual that's at the front, that's a figurehead of that, you will eventually have those cult followers. It's just what it is. People that will go and sacrifice their life for this person. They can do no wrong, all of that. But it's important that we keep the understanding that we're all humans. None of us are greater than another one of us. We come from all different walks of life. We come from all different backgrounds, financially, religiously, culturally, whatever it may be. And I am doing this near my apartment, so there's some people out here, and you'll probably hear some and see them in the background. But there's that's just a mainstay of the pagan faith since I've been practicing, and I've been practicing for about 3.5 years now. And that kind of brings us into the second part of this, and that's the bigotry and the exclusion of different kinds of people for a myriad of different reasons, whether it be race, whether it be nationality, just they're regardless of where they come from. It could be sexual discrimination against someone who is part of the LGBT community, which I myself am. So those kind of things, again, they have no place in Norse paganism. And there are some groups and communities out there that push those ideals. And this goes back to what I said about, throughout the last half of the 20th century, that our beliefs and our traditions have been co-opted by individuals who want to push these ideals and these beliefs, whether it be nationalism, whether it be racism, transphobia, homophobia, whatever it may be. There's individuals out there that do preach that, and they try to use the old gods and our path to validate what it is that they're saying. And in so doing, they give us all a bad name, and it's something that must be confronted when it's presented to you. If I were to meet another heathen out in public, and they started with some, white nationalist rhetoric, and, tried to use heathenry or Norse paganism as their support for that, and, we need to restore the white race. Well, what about the fact that within even the Norse traditions, historically, their culture was made up of people from everywhere. The Norse were mainstays on the Silk Road, so you had people from all different cultures coming through the Norse culture and into their civilization. If they were that isolationist, if they were that racist, and they were that exclusionary, they would not have been the powerhouse that they were economically, culturally, and they wouldn't have had the impact on the world that they have. We wouldn't be remembering them the same way. We would be remembering them kind of the way that we remember Nazi Germany. It's just a scar on man's history. But there's no place for that in Norse paganism. Now, there are some out there who really do want to do what they feel is the right thing and publicly denounce these communities and these groups, and I understand the reasoning why. Because you want to try to get ahead of it, and you want to rebuild the name of you and your folk. You want to let people understand that Norse paganism is not racism, it is not nationalism, it is not exclusionary, that everyone is welcome, that this path is a path that we all walk along together and that we all share. But there's some methods about going about that are less than ideal that are going around right now. One of them happens to be a declaration basically calling out one of these groups or communities for their racist and nationalist ideas and the way that they put themselves out there. and other communities which are not even legal entities. Because the thing is, this declaration was put together by people who are parts of legal entities, so legal religious entities. So anytime that you want to build an official religion or an official church, you have to register with the government. You go through the whole process, nonprofit stuff, all that. There are communities out there that are being slandered because they don't want to take part in the religious politics of these religious legal entities. The community that is being attacked, it's full of inclusion. There are people from the LGBT community. There are people of color in there from all different backgrounds of life. There's people of different financial means. It is the most inclusive place that you can possibly think of. No one is ever ostracized for anything. No one is ever told you can't do that, even within the practices that they have. There's no, my way of doing this ritual is the only way of doing it. There's not even any of that. So this community that's being slandered is very, very inclusive. It's very, very much the opposite of what they're trying to say. But this is where we start getting into the dogma conversation of Norse paganism. And something that people, I think, easily fall into is the dogmatic Christian sense of faith. That, if you don't do things the way we do things, then you're wrong. If you don't fall in line and do the things that we want you to, you're wrong. And we're going to call you out and we're going to destroy you for that. The problem is with that the dogma that resides within a lot of the Christian religions and a lot of other religions as well is there for fear. It is there to put boundaries for the people who follow that path. It's there to make sure that they stay within line and that they can be controlled. And that, again, goes back to what I was saying earlier. That has no place here within our community. That has no place within our faith. Norse paganism is not a path of dogma. It is not a path of do as I say or else. That Norse paganism is connecting to the old gods. It's coming out to like where I am, to nature, to enjoying the sky, enjoying the trees and the spirits that reside within these. It's connecting to the land. It's connecting with our gods and the spirits. And anyone that tries to codify that is doing it wrong. I'm not going to call out any names of the people that are doing this. I'm not calling, I'm not going to put the community that's being slandered. I'm not going to throw their name out there to potentially, cause more strife. But this is a video I felt had to be made because that dogma is hurting the community. That dogma of you need to do this or else. The sin of omission, which I don't know how many of you may be familiar with that, but the sin of omission is a Christian concept that if you stay silent, then you share in someone's guilt. So with this scenario, what's being thrown around is by staying silent and not engaging in the political or the religious politics of this community or of the community at large, that they must be a part of the problem. Despite the fact that multiple posts on social media, across YouTube, within the community itself, it's very much the opposite of what they're trying to say it is. And anyone that takes 5 minutes to explore, maybe 15 if you want to watch some videos, but if you take some time to explore, you'll realize that the things being said are not true. Also, a lot of the things being said are third party and coming from people who basically conducted themselves dishonorably, and when they did so, they were asked to remove themselves from the community because their actions were potentially a harm to others in the community, and they are basically mad about that. They're salty and they're trying to get their punches in while they can. So basically, what I wanted to say to summarize all of this is that the Norse pagan path is one of individuality. It's one of free will. It's one of liberty. It's one of inclusion. It's one of love. It's one of tolerance. And anything else is not acceptable. And with that being said, those individuals who use this path to promote those things, they are dishonorable. The old gods are watching them. They know what they're doing. They see it, and they're going to get their, to kind of reference a Christian theme, is they'll get their reward in due time. And those who are opposed to that, again, it's honorable and it's respectable that you are opposed to these things. However, the way that you deal with others in the community that are not denouncing it in the same way as you, if you slander them, if you slander the people in that community, which are those charismatic individuals that are, the face that people see most often, then you're really no better, because now you are excluding some of your folk over differences in opinion on how to handle yourself publicly. Not everyone wants to go out there and wave a flag that says, I'm Norse Pagan, and if you're a racist, I'm going to have bad things to say. Some of them just want to live their life the way that they preach, so to speak. Me personally, I don't care. Again, I'm part of the LGBT community. I'm not a person of color, obviously, but the way I handle things is very tolerant. I don't care where you're from. I don't care what you do. I don't care what gods you follow. I don't care anything about you, or in a negative way, unless you come to me and cause that negativity. It's much like the Havamal says, is that, deal with all, this is a summarize, I'm bad at quoting these things, but it's basically, deal with everyone as a friend until they, come at you with treachery, and at that point repay them with treachery. So that's kind of how I try to live my life. I try to be hospitable. The 9 noble virtues is something that we can all take a lesson from, and we can apply it towards fellow heathens as well as the world at large. We don't have to be out there on the front lines, fighting these fights and, making some big public statement. Sometimes the biggest statement that you can make is the way that you live your life and the way that you treat others, because that's what people will remember you by. Just have them all, 76 and 77, the last one. Dear fe, dear friender, dear sjálfur sama, ek fetain, dear alder deir, domur and dowden where. Basically, we're all going to die. And the only thing that'll be left is our reputation and the name that we leave behind. And so what's most important is that the reputation and name we leave behind is one of honor, one of respect, one of dignity, and one of tolerance. Because that's how we're going to be remembered. And that is when we meet our end and the gods are deciding where we go, whether we're sent to a hall, whether we're sent to hell, whether we're sent to Nidhogg, whatever it may be. Those are the things that they are going to see and take into account, is the way that we acted here towards each other and our fellow man. So, video, it's almost 20 minutes long, longer than I expected, again, for an unexpected video. So, the last thing that I do want to say is thank you so much for watching. I hope you watch more. Like and subscribe if you like this. And until we meet, skål.